Welcome back to Two Birds, One Stone, sponsored by DraftKings. Two conference championship games this weekend, and only one more shot now to win big this NFL playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get 200 in free bets instantly. 200 in free bets right away. Not a new customer? You can feel the Super Bowl thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. I bet the games yesterday. Went 0 for 2, but I did it responsibly. Gamble within your means, everyone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TPPN. New customers can bet $5 on the Super Bowl and get 200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TPPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details, as always. All right. It's been, 2 weeks since we've been here? We had Bo Brack on from PHNX. We're breaking down all kinds of shit. What coaches we're going to interview, what moves we're going to make this offseason. And in those 2 weeks, we really haven't learned squat more than what we knew then. We've got a huge list of interview candidates that Bidwell's bringing in. We did bring in Mr. Sean Payton, who was with Bidwell for 10 hours last week. But other than that, we really don't know much. Like I said, we had the conference championship games yesterday, so we can get into those a little bit, talk about some other teams that are still playing football.
Good teams.
We'll start with the Chiefs and Bengals, right?
Yeah, man, that's cool. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Here's wanted to start with Eagles Niners.
Here's a little behind the scenes that we didn't know. So what happened was I came on and we were talking a little bit before about what we're gonna do. Said, hey, all right. So I think I have notes, here for the Eagles Niners game, and then we can go to Bengals and Chiefs, and then Trent stops me and says, I think we should do Bengals Chiefs first because that's what I've listed. So tension off the jump, but it's okay because we're professionals.
We're behind the scenes. Garrett had that was the first time I think all season that Garrett had notes coming into the podcast. So
that's right.
We're gonna roll with Chiefs and Bengals first. Next week, if he comes with notes, he can choose what we talk about first. You got to bring notes 2 episodes in a row, and then we can talk about what you want to talk about first.
Hey, and that just shows the fans what raw fucking talent I have, that I can just pull all this shit right out of my memory.
It's always been impressive.
Getting into Chiefs and Bengals. Obviously, the big storyline coming out of this game was the refs. I don't want to harp on that a lot just because that's not fun. And I mean, especially
I think it kind of is.
I don't know.
They got hosed. Bengals got hosed.
There's missed calls on both sides. Obviously, there's a couple blocking the backs. Like the main ones that stick out of my mind is obviously the personal foul against the number 58 on the last play.
That was the only clean play. That was the right call.
That one was everyone was upset about, which I agree was the probably the best call of the game. That's going to get called 50 out of 50 times. A couple other ones I saw is on the return prior to that is a couple blocking the backs. I mean, it's just like picky little bullshit, all these little tic-tac penalties. I don't know. I don't really want to get into that. What I do want to get into is
can I talk about the penalties?
Yeah, man, go ahead.
I mean, just keep. Yeah, the 2 blocking the backs, the personal foul that was a personal foul. Those weren't the issues. We had a roughing the passer on Burrow in the end zone that didn't get called. If that's Patrick Mahomes, that gets called. And then we had the phantom. It was 3rd and 9. Chiefs were, I think it was a tie game, and they don't convert. They throw it short to one of the tight ends, and they get tackled to make it 4th and 4. The punting team is on the field, and it's not until the officials call, I think the Chiefs actually call timeout, and they're going to go for it. Then the ref comes on the mic, and they're like, hold on, that should have been – there was a stoppage of play. We'll reset the clock. Please, game clock operator, set it to 10:29, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, okay, they fixed the clock. It's 4th down. Maybe they'll go for it now, but we'll see. And then the down and distance changes back to 3rd and 9. Turns out they zoom out. There was a referee 40 yards away from the play coming in, waving his hands. They run the whole play. They're about to punt before anyone says a word about it. That's horseshit, in my opinion. I knew what happened prior to. It was like an incomplete pass, but a penalty. And then when they reset and they're about to spike the ball, the clock was running. Because it was an incomplete pass, the clock shouldn't have been running. But still, goddamn, somebody has to see that well prior to them running the play and then running out their punt team to punt the ball on fourth down. As someone that bet on the Bengals, I was furious because I was confused. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. But it was ugly. You can't say that it didn't play a part. It might not. I mean, the Bengals had fewer passing yards, the smaller time of possession, more turnovers, all that. The Chiefs probably deserved to win the game, but it definitely was affected. There were definitely some head scratching bullshit calls that probably should have went the other way or not been called at all. But yeah, all the attention goes to the unnecessary roughness call on the sideline whenever that was actually probably the right call. I mean, he had 2 feet out of bounds and he can't do that. And obviously that's sad as shit. You feel bad for that 58 guy. And they would not take the camera off of him while he's over there crying.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was like it was like one of them old what was her name? Like the old dog rescue dog commercials. In the arms of an angel.
Yeah. Sarah McLachlan is who you're thinking of.
Who?
Sarah McLachlan.
Yes.
Beautiful voice.
I knew it was Sarah something.
Voice. Yeah.
But it was sad regardless. And also, I didn't realize that guy's only 22.
It was his first or second year in the NFL. He might be a rookie.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
Could you imagine? I think of me like playing on like doing anything of that magnitude that like how bad that would fuck me up. Honestly, he handled it a lot better than what I would have. But as someone who bet on the Chiefs, I wasn't really too concerned about the penalties after the game was over because they won. So,
did you see the teammate trailing him in the locker room?
That was nice.
This is my last. Nice. No, not that one. That was in the press conference when he's like, "This is my last game. How you fucking touch a quarterback? Come on, bro!" And he's like screaming right behind him, like giving him shit for it. I was like, "Damn, dude, that's aggressive."
In the heat of the moment, I get it. But I like to think about the nice teammate who stood with them while the media was talking to him.
BJ Hill, I think. Maybe
I'm not sure.
I might be messing that up, but yeah, that went viral, obviously. But yeah, that's tough. That's very tough.
Yeah. And then basically what I have written here in bold is Patrick Mahomes is probably the best quarterback of all time. I would cut off my left index finger to have him on the Cardinals. And I'm serious about that. Like if it actually came down to it, I think I would quite literally let someone cut my left index finger off to have him play on the Cardinals for the rest of his career.
I think I'd lose a pinky down to the second knuckle. I think I'd do that. I type for my job a lot. I might, so like, I don't know if I could afford to lose the index finger, but I could probably go without the pinky.
I guess I could. I do too, but I don't know.
I mean, really, I was going to ask about that too. I was going to say, how much would you even give up for either of those fucking quarterbacks? Obviously, Burrow had 2 picks. One of them was tipped, and which was basically a punt. It was third and long on that play anyway. And I think they were both punt type interceptions where he's taking a shot and on its third or fourth down. So I mean, it wasn't like they were. I don't know. Well, no, one was bad. One was a punt. One was bad. But still, I would probably do the same thing for Joe Burrow. I mean, maybe just the top knuckle for Burrow, down to the second knuckle for Mahomes.
For Burrow, I think I would let someone close a car door on my fingers, but I don't think I would take
That's
one.
Nothing. That's just bruises and like, I mean, you recover from that and maybe broken fingers. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
I would do more than that for Burrow.
Anyway,
and that's just my opinion.
Enough about dismantling our body parts for fantasy or whatever. Travis Kelce, he just kind of sucks. I'm on the train that he sucks. He's too much. I feel like he tries too hard sometimes, and he's just extra.
It's kind of both of those brothers. They're kind of.
But he's fucking good. He's really fucking good. I think he's creeping into like the Gronk territory. I think I would almost want to put him above Gronk.
I think they're
there.
I think they're similar levels in terms of production, at least, especially in the playoffs. And it's not even just the playoffs. I think over his like regular season stats and all that has to be equal with Gronk's. The only thing about Gronk is the run game aspect. Like he'll go in there and put his head into you, and he'll affect the
Yeah,
game in that way. Kelsey, that's not his game, but in terms of like receiving tight end, I don't know if it's that crazy to say that Travis Kelsey's better than he was in
I
that.
think so.
In terms of like getting open and things like that, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
hard to compare, but I don't know.
yeah, I think so. And then like another thing I had, I feel like after the game, like, well, you saw Kelsey with the Burrow had my ass, whatever. Joe Burrow really never did. He didn't even do anything. Never even really said
He's
anything
getting a
or
lot of shit.
yeah, he never even really did. It was everybody else. Like it was the mayor of his fucking city that he plays in, and it was like teammates and stuff. He never even did anything. He was just
I
getting.
always
He was just
kind of thought that would be his downfall. I didn't think it would be him. I just think it would be the hype that surrounded him ever since LSU and the Burrow written in knew that
yeah,
like Cajun font or whatever that like in the cigar national championship #1 pick took the team to the Super Bowl. Like all these things were stacking up, and like everyone just fell in love with him, and it was all love, all love, all love. What's everybody's favorite thing to do? Build up and then tear down. Like he didn't do anything wrong. He threw a couple picks. Like I said, one was probably a pretty bad one. The other one was basically a punt. But like, I mean, he wasn't the one running his mouth before the game.
right.
He never did anything wrong. It was just the whole narrative around him. People wanted to kind of knock him down a peg, and not anything to do to his doing, like I
Yeah,
said. But that's just kind of the way the fucking shit goes. But
yeah, I agree.
it's part of it. I mean, you're kind of leading
Um,
this. Will you got anything else left for this game?
um, Mahomes' wife sucks. She needs to get off Twitter. That's a kind of
Old
an old thing.
news.
Yeah,
Old
that's kind of
news.
old.
One thing about Burrow,
The
though, before we go too far, is like, yeah, there was penalties and all that. Gosh, excuse me. And Mahomes is great, but Burrow had his chance. There was 2 minutes, 30 seconds
yeah,
left. He had the ball, granted at the 7-yard line, but all three timeouts, 2:30, the 2-minute warning. That's infinity time for you to get down there and kick a field goal. And whenever it was like 3rd and 17, they got backed up after a sack. I was like, okay, very long shot that he gets this. And then he converts to wide open Hayden Hurst on the sideline. It's
hmm
like, oh, we're cooking with gas now. They get up close to the 50. And then I believe they're forced to punt after a Chris Jones sack. But he had him going a little bit, and everybody's the Tom Brady comparison's never in for him. But he doesn't have a Super Bowl, and in that one spot where he had to have it, he didn't quite get it done. And like I said, he played a decent game, and that's not all on him. His offensive line, again, which is always the narrative with the Bengals, wasn't good enough. I don't see
hmm
how they got to invest in that so heavily. They had so many
yeah,
injuries, but it just wasn't strong enough against Chris Jones, who finally he didn't even have a playoff sack before that game.
yeah,
Did you know that? What do you have? Two
yeah,
and a half, 10
yeah,
pressures. He's an animal. But yeah, Burrow had a shot and just wasn't enough there at the end.
yeah. Eagles Niners. Obviously, the big story out of this one is Purdy goes down with an injury, and then Josh Johnson also ends up getting banged up. As we all expected, at though that imagine it this headline if you just saw this week one. Josh Johnson attempts to lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's tough. That sucks ass if you're a Niners fan. Because I mean, I bet on them as well. Sucked for me, but I don't know. I just looked at them as the better. It's hard to say the better team, but an equal team, and I thought they had better playmakers on offense. And Purdy had played pretty well. His worst game was probably against the Cowboys, and I still don't think he had a turnover in that game. He had a couple turnover-worthy throws, but Samuel, C-Mac, Kittle, Ayuk, Juice check.
Really.
Elijah Mitchell. Actually, I don't think he was active. I just thought they had the weapons. Their offense, everything else, I felt like was equal. Their offensive line, Eagles, don't get me wrong, is probably the best in the league, but Niners has got to be right second or third behind them. Niners defense was first overall in scoring. Eagles was second. Eagles had the most sacks. The Niners probably had a better secondary. Like they were very comparable teams, and to see the score end up at 31-7 because of quarterback injuries, that sucks ass. What I really wanted to see was McCaffrey take that quarterback role by himself. Purdy, it came out today, he had like a UCL tear in his arm. He literally, that's like a 6-month injury. So the fact that he even went out there and threw a couple like screen passes is pretty insane. But it would have been badass to be like, we're going full on fuck it. Christian McCaffrey, Wildcat, let's just give it a go. So it was kind of a decently close game. It was 7-7. It was 7-7 with 1:56 to go in the first half. And then by halftime, it was 21-7. The Eagles capitalized on a fumble by Josh Johnson on the snap. He just took his eyes off of it. They score, and then they score again. And you can't recover down 14 without being able to throw the football. So that was about all she wrote.
Yeah, it was. I feel like that's like one of the worst, like putting myself in a Niners fan shoes. That's like the worst type of end to the season you could have. Like how like you're banged up all year, and like you're in your third string quarterback, and to just lose in the NFC Championship in that way. God, that sucks. I mean, I just
Kittle's quote.
Yeah.
He was like, does it suck to lose in the NFC Championship game because I don't have a quarterback? Yeah, it fucking sucks. I'm surprised he even said that. He's not really he's an outspoken guy, but usually in terms of humor. But I guess it doesn't really hurt to throw Josh Johnson really under the bus.
I don't even think he was really throwing Josh Johnson under the bus. I think he was quite literally saying they didn't have a quarterback. Like they didn't because I mean towards the end of the game, I didn't bet on this one, but we all were sitting and watching the game. They were down, I guess, in the fourth quarter. I think they were down a couple, like 3 or 4 scores or so, and they just were handing the ball off. Whenever Purdy came back in,
throw.
Literally, everyone was like, "Why the fuck are they not throwing the football? It doesn't make any sense." Well, it turns out he quite literally could not throw the football, and they had no one else to play. So,
yeah, I had a couple more. It's crazy that the Cardinals almost beat the Eagles. Like it was a fucking if Matt Prater's healthy, Cardinals might beat that team. Jalen Hurts is going to get a shit ton of money. He was a 2nd-round pick, so they don't have the luxury of just picking up his option. Like he doesn't have a 5th-year option. So they're going to have to pay him probably this offseason. He's going to get a lot of money. And I just described how similar it's like. I mean, the Niners kind of had that blueprint first. It's like the Eagles are just the Niners, except they have Jalen Hurts. It's like if Shanahan had his healthy Trey Lance and Trey Lance was everything he was supposed to be as a 3rd overall pick, it would look like the Eagles look like right now is in their ideal world. But Trey Lance looks like he might not be that guy. Who knows? But they run the football well. They don't have to it seems very what happens now with the Niners. Well, Purdy is supposed to be back by the start of camp. It seems like with that timeline from injury. And obviously Tom Brady. That's the name that's going to be out there.
Do you have to make Purdy the starter next year?
Yes. If you don't sign Tom Brady, Brock Purdy should be your starter, in my opinion.
So then what do you do with your other 2 quarterbacks?
That's a luxury that they have. I tweeted it out. It's insane that they were able to whiff that badly and fuck up as bad as they did as trading, was it 2 firsts and more to move up to that spot? Completely swing and miss so far. Have had 0 production out of that. And yet they went to an NFC Championship game last year and were again this year, a game away from the Super Bowl 2 straight years after just completely blowing that. They don't need him, and it's not affecting them financially. It's a rookie contract. Yeah, it's a high pick, but you're not hampered by that down the road.
Yeah.
Ties, get out of here. I would sign Brady, have Purdy sit behind Brady for a year. I mean, it's not like he's a 7th-round pick. It's not like his ego's going to be damaged by sitting behind fucking Tom Brady for a season, I wouldn't think. I just think that makes the most sense. I don't really – what are you going to go to the Raiders? I mean, I guess McDaniels is there, but it seems like they are further away from competing for a fucking ring than the Niners are, obviously. So I would think of all the spots to go, if the Niners are interested, that's probably the Brady landing spot.
Yeah.
I disagree. Do you think you roll with try and get Trey Lance back?
No, I agree with that. I think that would make most sense. I think if Brady ends up not going there, I think you would still have to stick with Purdy, no matter what.
Yeah.
I think you stick with Purdy, you keep Jimmy G, and you trade Trey Lance.
Yeah. I mean, it's Purdy or Brady. Like, if it's not Tom Brady, it's Brock Purdy, is the way that I would look at it. And he deserves it. I mean, he played.
Yeah,
It's not like he threw for 450 every game and 4 touchdowns. He was perfect for what they wanted. And I don't know. I think he earned the right. 7-1 took him a game away from the Super Bowl. Good for him. So Super Bowl pick. We'll do a quick. We'll do a bigger preview in a future episode. But Eagles open as a 2.5-point favorite, and I'm going to pick the Chiefs.
yeah.
I pick wrong every single game, so I would
This has
probably
probably
bet the
been
Bengals.
like, if we kept track, you're probably on one of the worst.
I can look. I haven't won a bet in a long time, guys. It's been a very rough season.
You've probably placed what? I'd say over under 450 bets this year, maybe.
Probably closer to 30. I think
And
I've won 3.
Hit, yeah, won 3.
A lot of them were small little parlays, but it isn't not that much of an exaggeration. It was an all-time terrible season, and I'm glad it's over. One more bet to lose, baby. Use the DraftKings Sportsbook app responsibly. So yeah, 2.5-point favorites. Are you going with the Chiefs as well?
Yeah, especially at that. I thought that the Chiefs were going to beat the Bengals a lot more handedly than what they did. I think with a more healthy Mahomes, that probably would have happened. But I don't know. I just don't. I feel like the lights of the Super Bowl are going to be too big for Hurts. He's still a young quarterback. People forget that he has one full season under his belt. Is that right? 1 or 2?
One full season, yeah. He played towards the end of his rookie year a little bit, but last year was a full year. He took him to the playoffs and lost.
Realistically, one full season. I think Mahomes has just been there too many times. And usually, whenever it's a matchup like this, where you have a quarterback who's a lot more experienced versus the opposite of that, and Jalen Hurts, who's not. I mean, you usually want to pick the guys experienced. So that's. I mean,
it's Jalen Hurts has been great, but he hasn't had to do it. He hasn't had to win the ball in the air or win the game in the air.
Right.
So he's gonna have to probably do that in this game. I mean, they've just blown everybody out. Plus they've had the easiest route ever to a Super Bowl. I mean, I think we can kind of agree on that. We were all way too high on the Giants. It was still the Giants. They're probably a year or two away from really contending. They've got a really good thing going, and they outperformed everybody. Good for the Giants. Great season. But they weren't ever going to beat that Eagles team that was at 38-7 or some shit. Then you go in and you get to play Josh Johnson for the majority of the game, and then he goes down to you had 2 of the easier games to get to the Super Bowl ever, and now you're going against the guy right now. That Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's probably the MVP favorite. He's got a ring in his closet already. I mean, I'm not expecting the Eagles to win. I think if I had to pick one, or the Chiefs to win, if I had to pick one, it would be the Chiefs. But I'm not saying that Hurts can't do that. I'm not saying he can't duel and go shot for shot. But it'll be a good game, I hope. I really want it. That Niners-Eagles game I thought was going to be a fantastic game, and I got let down a little bit. But even the Chiefs and Bengals was weird. It was the officiating shit in a low-scoring game. I just want to see a good fucking fun football game to close out the season. But we'll break it down a little bit more, and probably the coach hiring episode, which hopefully comes at some point. The Kelsey brothers, 2 brothers with a podcast, facing off in the Super Bowl. Could have been us, brother. What happened there?
Could have been us, but you're overweight, and I'm not very good at. I'm not very athletic, so.
No, you claimed to run a 4.5, and I think that's bullshit.
I ran in a 4.5, and that's 100% fact. We'll get into our future plans for this show here. Maybe we can work up something for that.
We'll see. Later. You need to run it laser timed. I don't believe any hand it's weak. So let's get into a little bit of Cardinals shit. This is a Cardinals podcast, right? So it seemed like at the end of last week, it was kind of down to Flores and Payton. We had Dan Quinn decide to stay in Dallas after the Cardinals seemed pretty interested in him. Frank Wright, who got an interview with the Cardinals, took the Panthers job where he played quarterback. That's kind of cool. John Gannon, who hasn't, it's not official, but after the post game press conference yesterday after their win, he said he's staying in Philadelphia. And D'Amico Ryans, who the Cardinals never got a chance to talk to, all signs, according to Ian Rappaport, are pointing to him probably taking the Texans job by the time you hear this. Oh, shit, hold on. Ian Rappaport, the Cardinals are closing in on a deal to send this year's 2023 second round pick to the Saints and next year's 2024 first round pick in exchange for Coach Sean Payton.
That's real?
Go look on Twitter. I'm not live on the show. Yes.
That's real?
Go look. We can scrap the coach and say, holy shit.
No way.
Two sides confirmed this afternoon. Details are still ongoing.
No
Cardinals
way.
will hold a press conference tomorrow at 11 a.m.
What an all-time moment.
It would have been if it was real.
You're a fucking piece of shit. You're a fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit.
Could you imagine?
You're a fucking asshole. You're a fucking asshole. Fuck you, dude.
You believed it though, didn't you?
Yeah.
The compensation was kind of spot on. I think that's about what it would cost.
What'd you say? This year's second round?
2023 second round pick, next year's first. That's about what it's probably going to cost.
Yeah.
We took a little break there. I was sitting here waiting for it. I was like, I'm going to fuck with him a little bit. No, we don't have Sean Payton yet. But according to Payton himself, who did meet with the Cardinals last week for 10 hours, it seemed like. He was with Bidwell all day. Payton said on Fox that the door is not closed and that there should be a lot more information coming this week. There was a lot of weird TMZ type pictures of him in the parking lot and shit. It reminded me a lot of Peyton Manning in 2012 when it was oh shit, he's in the building. Who knows? The excitement's there. But yeah, we don't know yet.
Was the tie red or orange?
Stupid fucking. The tie was orange. I'm pretty sure that they said it on the broadcast that the tie was orange. But you can't blame our buddy Johnny for fucking
shout out
throwing it out there, right?
Shout out Johnny.
Red tie? Red tie? Question mark?
Shout out Johnny for the hot scoop. He's been working his ass off on this.
They're doing a great job over there. They're doing a great job.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have. Yeah. Go ahead.
As of right now, I believe Peyton's. The odds are the highest they've been yet for him to be the Cardinals. I think it was plus 120 this morning. Still not as high as Flores, who I think was minus 125, who we'll get to. But yeah, we're just kind of sitting around and seeing. I guess we're still both in the agreement that doesn't matter how much it's going to cost. Sean Payton is most likely the best option.
I don't think that is necessarily.
I mean, obviously not the third overall pick. That's ludicrous, but other than
I think that's all. That's untouchable.
That's not happening.
If that's included in the deal, then I don't want it. But yeah, I think at this point it's basically him, or if he's coming to the Cardinals or he's going back to Fox. I think it's kind of what it's
right. I think that's true too.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah.
So yeah, they met. It apparently went well. So yeah, who knows? Not well enough to where anything was finalized. The Cardinals still put out a bunch of interview requests, which we'll get into, but I don't know. It's just waiting to see time. The Cardinals, I don't think they've ever waited this long into the offseason to hire somebody, which is good. They're taking their time. Yeah,
no, I think that could also be more on Bidwell than even on Sean Payton. Even, I feel like Bidwell seems like he's turning over every rock, in this search.
Yeah. So they put in a request today for both Bengals coordinators, offensive and defense. Lou Anarumu is the defensive coordinator. I butchered it probably. Brian Callahan, offense coordinator, and Mike Kafka, Giants OC. Kafka did, I thought, a lot with little with the Giants. I mean, you have Daniel Jones, Saquon is a beast, obviously, but that receiving core is trash. Offensive line wasn't great, and he helped them get to the playoffs under Brian Dable. Made Daniel Jones look pretty fucking competent. He had a lot of head coaching buzz. I think he's interviewed with 4 of the 5 teams, and then they'll meet with him on Tuesday. So I mean, in our Cardinals group chat, I said something about Kafka, and everybody fucking flipped out. It's like Kafka's trash. It shows that we're a dog shit franchise. We do this, blah blah. I was like, I mean, he interviewed with 4 of the 5 openings. I don't think anyone like Flores hasn't interviewed with anybody else for a head coaching spot, and everybody seems okay with him. But I don't think it's a terrible idea to look into it.
No, I agree. He's obviously sought after. Like you just said, he's interviewed with multiple
Yeah,
teams.
I think he's a
But
finalist for the Colts job. But
I tweeted out a video of Brian Flores whenever he
well,
was
let me get
with the
let me
Dolphins.
get to the other interviews that we have set up. We'll get to Flores
All right.
in a second. After Kafka, the Bengals defense coordinator, I'm just going to call him Lou because that last name's hard. He's going to interview Wednesday. And if you watch what he did against Josh Allen last week and then Patrick Mahomes this week, like it seemed like Mahomes was under a lot of pressure for the majority of the night. He held the Bills to 10 points in their building with Mahomes or with Josh Allen and that crazy offense. And then Louis Riddick, ESPN, former NFL exec, he tweeted these things about him. I thought they were pretty high praise. So he said, I spoke with Lou again last night and going to say this, the fact that nobody wants to hear about his leadership, team building, salary cap, staff construction, teaching and development, offensive and defense and special teams, philosophies via head coach interview is a joke. And then somebody asked, can you like elaborate on what he's like as a guy? He said communication skills, leadership skills, real-time in-game adjustment expertise. I look forward to talking with him more after having had some in-person time with him, as I have mentioned. I've always wanted to hear more from him one-on-one. Crazy that others have not until now. Until now, when the Cardinals put in an interview to talk with him. So he seems, it wasn't just him. He seems like very respected. I don't know his resume front and back, but I mean, like I just said, he's done, everybody talks about the Bengals offense. He's done some very good things with that defense who have a couple good players up front. And then Jesse Bates, I guess, solid safety, but there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm fine with Bidwell really turning over every like we said, turning over every stone. I think if you fuck up on a head coach again, you're going to set us back another 5 years. So
Yeah.
take the time. Even who knows? He might not even want said Bengals defensive coordinator, but at least it's worth a shot. You never know. You never
You're
know
going to
who's
look
going to
into it.
impress. Yeah.
You're going to look into it. You're going to look at these teams that are having postseason success, winning playoff games, and try your best to poach from there. Because, as we mentioned, everybody here is a loser. We want to go get some of those guys that aren't losers. Offense
Copycat
coordinator
league.
Brian Callahan, Bengals. He's going to interview on Thursday. That was a name that I heard a lot more with like the Colts, and I think he got an interview in Houston. That one I heard more than the defense coordinator's name. Like I said, I think the Colts are a pretty strong contender for him and the DC, but obviously the Bengals have been doing crazy things offensively. But is that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, Hayden Hurst, bubble, the list goes on, or is that more to him? Who knows? You could have made the same argument for D'Amico Ryans and that Niners defense too. I think I brought that up in that interview with Bo. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, Bengals have been ascending. They've been winning playoff games. Let's just at least sit down with them and hear what they have to say. Because it's not always about, yeah, you want to see if this guy can be a fit, but you're also just picking their brain a little bit. And maybe that's what Bidwell is doing. Any thoughts on
Talking
that guy?
ball. Just talk a little ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that the definitely having Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow in the best receiving core of the league helps your case. But like you just said with D'Amico Ryans, obviously He's a also well sought after guy. And kind of the narrative of this whole offseason, like we said for the third time this episode, flip over every stone. Talk to
Yep.
every single guy who you think could fit the bill.
Yep. So yeah, it kind of seems like there's more question marks now than what there were before. Like you just said, Bidwell wasn't bullshitting around when he said the cast in the wide net thing. It's like the net at the end of Finding Nemo. Whenever it's got that thing had like a million fucking fish in it, you know. So that's kind of the size we're working with here. Keep swimming, and they break it.
Nemo,
all time Pixar movie.
That's an old timer. If you haven't seen it, go look it up.
Yeah, you want to get into your Brian Flores shit now?
Yeah. So I was trying to. I didn't know a whole lot about Brian Flores. Only thing I knew is I knew he was with the Steelers for a stint. I knew he was most recently the head coach of the Dolphins. I knew he got fired and had a lawsuit and yada yada yada. So I was doing a little digging and I found a cool clip I put on Twitter. If you want to go see it, go look at my Twitter. Basically,
I'll put it in right here.
Flores says winning big does not hinge on just having a superstar quarterback.
I think it's a team game. I do. I think one. I'll just never believe that it's about one person.
Yeah.
So obviously, you just saw the clip. I like how it seems like he has a good attitude that would fit kind of exactly what we need right now. Which I don't know if you've seen the video yet, but in the video, he basically talks about how not one player can make the whole team. I think the interviewer actually says something about like a star quarterback, and he goes on to elaborate saying not one player can make the team. It's a whole effort. Not everyone needs not one player needs all the intention. Blah 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 blah. Which it just seems kind of refreshing. You know, I think that'd be a good change of pace compared to what we have with Cliff the past 4 years, 5 years.
I think a lot of what I've seen about the negatives about him is that it's like, I mean, you saw how it worked out with Tua, and I'm going to rant a little bit, excuse me, but you saw how it worked out with Tua in Miami. He couldn't, and he's going to fix Kyler. Like that seems like the worst marriage to put together there in that situation. I love Kyler. We've said it 100 million times on this show. It usually precedes with me saying something that might not be the most glowing about him, but I think he is an exceptional talent. Could be MVP in the NFL. However, we have tried all right, we got Kyler Murray in the building. We're gonna pair him with Cliff. That's his system. They're gonna be buddy. It's his keys to the show. Like we're gonna cater everything around the franchise to fit him and make it all work around him for him to excel. That shit didn't work. It just did not. It wasn't enough kick in the ass for him. It wasn't enough to get him motivated. And maybe that's not the right words to say, but either way, that way didn't work. I'm not hiring my next head coach, and I'm not investing 5 years of success, like you said, around is this going to work with Kyler Murray or not? That's one player. It's an important player. That's the quarterback. But if Kyler Murray can't get along with whoever the fuck the next coach is, Brian Flores, Sean Payton, you name it, then maybe, just maybe, it might be a Kyler Murray problem. I'm not catering this whole fucking deal around if this works for him. I want the best coach to come in and change the culture for the whole team. I don't give a shit if it's offensive, defensive, or what kind of mindset it is. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sitting back and putting all my eggs in the Kyler basket. You already did that with the contract. Like, you got him locked up. You gave him what he wanted. Now you go get a coach that's best for the entire organization to change and shake up everything, not just in the quarterback room. So it's an extremely important thing. But like I said, if Murray's not able to step back, say, okay, I need to work on this. All right, let's do this together. I'm going to take a back seat. I'm not the guy. You're my boss. You're the head coach. I'll take a back seat. I'll do what you say, and we'll work on this together. If he can't do that, then I don't want him as my quarterback anymore. So if Brian Flores gets in here, shakes things up, and we have more fucking drama that comes out, that's gonna be it. I'll be out. That's gonna be my take on the whole thing. So
right, I agree. It's like it's like a guy who dates all these chicks, and all these chicks are always like the guy's always like, oh man, this chick's crazy, and then he goes to the next one, oh this chick is crazy, next one, this chick's crazy. Hey man, maybe you're the problem, and I'm not, like you said, I'm not quite ready to commit to a 20. How old's Kyler? 24,
25, 26.
I'm not ready to commit to taking a lesser coach that can get along with him for a 25-year-old quarterback who just blew his knee out and hasn't won a playoff game. I'm not in for
You've already
that.
did your part to commit to him. Like I said, like you've already you proved that, hey, we want you as our quarterback. We gave you all this guaranteed money. We already showed you that. I don't have to prove it again by going out and getting who you want and who you're going to mesh with perfectly. And like I said, I think he's going to do those things. I think he will. I think he will work hard under him. I think he will adapt to a new system. He'll listen to what they whatever direction that they want him to go into. I think he will, because I don't think he has any other choice, really. He's coming back. He knows he regressed. He regressed a lot compared to what we saw, the MVP type player he was at the start of last year. Not that he was terrible this year, but he was average. I mean, it wasn't anything more than that. So I think he knows that. Like, it's not, I mean, he's still got confidence. I'm sure he still knows, and I still have confidence in him. But I just think to say, can't be Flores, we saw how it worked out with Tua down there. No, that's not. If he's the best coach to come in here for the team, then that's the coach you go and get. The quarterback will figure it out, or he won't, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of the way I looked at it.
Yep. There's 51
right now
other guys.
He's the favorite for the job. So I like him. I do. I mean, he's not my top guy. He might be he's probably top 3 or 4. I mean, I really liked Dan Quinn. I don't know. I know people like, oh, the blown lead in the Super Bowl, whatever. But I thought he did awesome in Dallas. He got that Falcons team to the Super Bowl. Like, I think he's a very good coach. But he's staying in Dallas. So we'll see. It still kind of feels like Flores and Payton. I think it'll be fun to say that all these interview requests are just to get leverage with the Saints and all that. I don't think that's the case. It's a podcast, so we can run with that if we want to. But I think the smart thing is just they've been in talks with Payton. They're not done yet. So I mean, we don't have a coach yet, so we're still going to see what these guys have to say while we got maybe some conversation still going on with him. Like, that's probably the most sane logic. Call me crazy, but it's a podcast. So yeah, all that's just smoke screens. It's just leverage.
I think a strong point that we didn't bring up with the Payton stuff is, as of right now, I don't think anybody thinks that there's another team that Sean Payton's going to go to besides the Cardinals. At some point, the Saints are going to realize, hey, if we don't unload this guy, like, we can, if they're demanding this insanely high price that they have been reported to, it's going to come to a point where, hey, they'd rather get something for him than nothing, because if the Cardinals don't take him off their hands, then he's not going to get picked up, and then they're going to lose this valuable asset that they can get something for this year, because next year he's free and clear to go wherever he wants, right? If he wants to coach next year. So if they don't move him, I feel like Bidwell and the Cardinals have a lot more leverage than what people think, because this is probably one of the strongest crop of coaches to choose from within the past couple of years. Yeah. They don't need Sean Payton as bad as what the Saints need to unload him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hold out, and if you don't want to give up 2-3 first rounders, fucking say, all right, we'll go higher, because they're going to have to come down on what they're asking for if they want to get anything from them. You know?
Yeah. And I think that they will. They're not getting 2 first-round picks. I think it's, like I said earlier, and my gotcha, it's likely to be a second rounder. Maybe it's a pick that they get from Dylan Hopkins, and then a pick next year. Speaking of Hopkins, new GM Austin Ford supposedly met with him last week to kind of talk about his future, and then I got duped. Do you want to hear about it?
Yeah.
So somebody found a tweet from I'll just say it. There was a tweet that was going around about Hopkins saying that he's got 9 years left in him in his game. And somebody was like, I hope it's all with the Cardinals. And then Hopkins quote tweeted and said, "Me too!" Exclamation point. It's like, oh shit, that's big news. He wants to stay. Like, retweet, and then I went back to it because I wanted to talk about it on the podcast, and I said it was from July of 2021. So I got, and he did not say that recently. Maybe he really wants out of here, but I got fooled. I was like, oh, Hopkins ain't going anywhere. But they did meet. He did meet with the GM. His Vegas odds are still a huge long shot for him to still be with the Cardinals next year. I think the Packers are number one at like plus 300. But who knows? I don't know how the meeting went. No one really reported on it. But we'll just sit here and wait and see. I think a lot has to do with what coach is brought in. I think if Sean Payton is brought in, DeAndre Hopkins isn't going anywhere, in my opinion. But who knows?
Yeah, I'd hate to see him go. It's kind of like hit me like a truck. Hit the fact that him, like, I didn't think about it all year until like the end of the last game that was played this season. I was like, oh shit, he actually is probably going to have to leave. That sucks.
Well, I mean, it was probably not thought about because he's under contract for 2 more seasons or whatever it is. So it's like, yeah. I mean, I didn't think that we were about to go into a full-on rebuild. But depending on what happens with the GM and what new coach gets hired, maybe that's what they think is best. So we'll wait and see on that. So that's kind of all that I had to touch on regarding Cardinals news. Like I said, we'll have one before the Super Bowl. Surely we'll have a new coach before the Super Bowl 2 weeks from now. We'll do a Super Bowl preview. We'll talk about the new coach. We'll probably just do an episode the night that the new coach is hired and talk about everything with the hire, and then do a Super Bowl preview, like I said. Show news, though, we'll be doing a show from Kansas City at the 2023 NFL Draft. Might be live. It might be not. We're going to try. We sure as hell are going to try. I don't know if we really have the technology for that. That might be your department, Garrett. But, yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things in the works for that. We've thrown around the idea of doing like a vlog style type video as well.
Yeah, we'll do that. You'll get documentation of the whole trip. It's going to be beautiful. Hopefully we are front row right there next to the stage whenever Mr. Will Anderson Jr. gets drafted at 3 overall, future Hall of Famer, and we rejoice as Cardinals fans.
Hell, you might even see us up on the stage on like the 3rd day calling.
You might get drafted. You seriously might get drafted. You might get drafted.
I could seriously get drafted. I could.
We'll see what happens.
I should put in for it.
Yeah,
I could get drafted. But yeah,
well, I mean, we're going to laser
exciting.
time your 40 and see if it's really a 4.5, which it isn't. I'm telling you all right now that it's not.
We're gonna try and find. I think for that we're gonna try. Well, probably not anymore instead of 4.5. That was fucking 5 years ago.
Sure. Yeah. That's true.
We're gonna try and find something to do with that. We're gonna have a fun vlog, fun video coming out.
It'll be fun, and you'll all be along for the ride. So it'll be a good time. I mean, we're gonna talk before then. Obviously, we've got that's in April. Like I said, Super Bowl preview. We'll find shit to do this off season. We're not gonna just stop doing episodes like we did last year. We're gonna keep this thing rolling. I don't want to lose all those viewers that we've been gaining. So. Thank you for viewing. Like, subscribe, and download the podcast if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or Google. If you're watching on YouTube, like it and subscribe, please. It helps. Tell a fan, another Cardinals fan, to check us out, and we'll go from there. I don't really have anything else for today. So it's kind of, I don't know, that was closer to an hour? I don't know anymore. Yeah. I lose track. So, yeah. We'll see you guys probably within the next couple weeks for
hopefully
Sean Payton introductory. That was hilarious that I got you on that. That's good. That's going to be clipped. Clip it.
That was good.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, Garrett.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Bye-bye.